The station was nearly empty, except for a few passengers and the echoing sound of the distant announcement. The air smelled of coffee, old tracks, and something else, something waiting to begin. Amira, wrapped in a light beige trench coat, tapped her fingers nervously on her luggage. Her phone buzzed again, her mother calling for the third time that evening. She sighed and declined the call. It wasn't just a journey for her, it was an escape. From her suffocating engagement, from her parents' expectations, from a life built on convenience and not love. Then came the voice. "Are you waiting for the 9:45 to Boston?" She turned. A man in his late 20s, with disheveled hair, kind eyes, and an old leather satchel, stood beside her. "I am," she replied. "And apparently, it's late. Like everything else in my life." He chuckled. "Well, that makes two of us." His name was Ezra. He was a freelance photographer, traveling from city to city in search of stories. They sat together on the bench, sharing fragments of their lives. Amira told him about her love for painting, once a passion now buried under corporate meetings. Ezra spoke of his travels and the photos he took, especially of lonely people at stations. "It's like they're all waiting for something more than a train," he said. Amira smiled. "Maybe we all are." As the train finally arrived, they boarded and found seats next to each other. What began as a casual conversation stretched into hours. The cold night outside blurred the windows, but inside, the warmth between them grew with every word. They parted at Boston with no promises. Just a glance. And a whisper. "Maybe someday," Ezra said. Amira nodded, stepping away. But someday had already begun. Days passed. Then weeks. Amira returned to her job in New York, but nothing felt the same. Her fiancé, Rafiq, noticed her distance, her quiet evenings lost in thought. She couldn't tell him the truth, not yet. Meanwhile, Ezra sent letters. He didn't know her exact address, but he remembered her talking about the cafe where she used to paint, Café La Luna in Brooklyn. So he mailed his letters there, hoping someone would forward them. In the letters, he wrote about the places he visited. About the old man who carved wooden birds in Maine. About the girl who sang on the subway in Chicago. But most of all, he wrote about her. He wrote about her eyes that held 1,000 questions. Her voice that sounded like a familiar song. And the way her silence said more than words ever could. Amira never received the letters. The cafe had closed down 2 years ago. But fate had its own way of working. One day, while Amira walked through an art fair in Soho, a photo caught her eye. It was her. Sitting on the train, looking out the window, lost in thought. The caption read, "The girl who waits." She scanned the booth and saw him, Ezra, talking to a buyer. Her heart raced. She didn't approach. Not right away. She watched him from a distance, wondering if it was real or just another ghost of the past. Then he looked up. Their eyes met. And time stopped. They sat at a small coffee shop nearby. The awkwardness faded quickly, replaced by something unspoken but deeply understood. "I saw your photo," she said softly. "I sent letters," he replied. "To Café La Luna." She laughed. "That place shut down ages ago." They talked until the shop closed. And still, it wasn't enough. But reality was harder than dreams. Amira was still engaged. Her wedding was in 3 weeks. "I can't just run away," she said, tears forming. I have responsibilities. Expectations. My parents. But what about you? Ezra asked. What do you expect from yourself? That question lingered in the air long after he left. She didn't answer. Because she didn't know. 3 days before her wedding, Amira went to the station. The same place they first met. It was raining, softly, like the sky was unsure whether to cry or not. She sat on the same bench. And waited. Not for a train. But for clarity. Ezra didn't come. Maybe he had moved on. Maybe he was hurt. Or maybe he never expected her to choose him over her entire life. As she stood to leave, a voice called out. Hey. She turned. There he was. Drenched in rain, holding a worn-out umbrella and the same satchel from months ago. I was hoping you'd be here, he said. Amira looked at him, her heart breaking and healing at the same time. I'm supposed to be at a rehearsal dinner, she whispered. You don't have to go, Ezra said. But if I don't, everything changes. Ezra stepped closer. Maybe that's the point. She closed her eyes. Took a deep breath. And made her decision. 1 year later. Amira and Ezra run a small gallery in Vermont. It's filled with his photographs and her paintings. They host storytelling nights, where strangers become friends over shared memories. The station still stands. Sometimes they go there. Not to run from something. But to remember how it all began. Every time a train leaves, Ezra holds her hand and says, "What if you hadn't shown up that night?" And she replies, "Then I'd still be waiting."